What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. I am so happy. It's been such a long time since we've had a statue come through the Gempire. So today, I'm going to take my time with this one, man. We got the XM Studios Moon Knight statue, sculpted by Caleb Nefson, and low edition size. We're going to unbox it. I'm going to play around with the camera. We'll do all kinds of different stuff. And like I said, we're going to take our time because it's been a minute, long overdue. Stay tuned, and we'll get into the unboxing and review. Alright, so like all XM boxes, you have that black box, very sturdy, and you have the picture of the art print with a little description of the character. So you have here Moon Knight, quarter scale, Moon Knight, Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, 4 different aspects of the same man who was resurrected by Khonshu, the Egyptian lunar god of vengeance and justice, to serve as his avatar. Those unjust mortals who prey upon the innocents who travel at night with powers that come from the moon, beware the vengeance of the Moon Knight. Now let's take a quick little look at the art print that comes with the statue. I think it looks great, man. I love the rain coming off of the costume with the moonlight. This is the same exact pose. This is the one with the staff and the open hand. Looks super cool, man. I really got to figure out what I'm going to do with my XM Studios prints, man, because right now I just always have them in my drawer. Here's the XM Assemblage Handbook. Our pride, your joy. Shows you kind of where everything is in the box. I wish it would say which was the top and the bottom layer, though. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be common sense, but you know. Here goes Sculpt, Caleb Nefson, like I said. Concept design by XM Studios Design and Development Team. Shows you how to put it together. The paper is great quality, thick. I hear that the Scorpion one doesn't have a booklet, so maybe they're not going to do booklets anymore. This might be the last one. It shows you how to register online. I've never done it. All right, let's take off these straps. So here's what looks like the top layer. I see the cape in there. Looks like you have some pieces of the hands. Got some of the switch outs. So let's take that out, and then we'll take out the bottom piece. All right, guys, so we have both pieces of the box out. We'll go ahead and start removing some pieces. This looks like the base. A lot of weight to this base, man. I got the body of Moon Knight himself. Now, this looks like a piece of the base. Then we got the hand with the chain. Very cool. And we have one of the portraits in here, and then we'll get rid of this bottom layer, so we have room to maneuver. All right, let's start putting this guy together. Grab a little turntable. So the base has a lot of weight to it. Now these wings are very lightweight. I'm not really sure if it's made out of a slightly different material or whatever, but it feels a little different. So that sits in there. Grab that other wing real quick. All right, guys, so far so good. Let's break out the assembly handbook just to see when do I put on the cape. I'm assuming I put it on right now before we put on any portraits. I was right. So the cape is lightweight, which makes sense. It feels like it's the same type of material that the wings on the base are made out of. How the hell are you supposed to do this? Hold on, not liking that. Alright, I could tell he had like a little groove in his shoulder where the cape was supposed to go. So I kind of got it in there. I guess we could pop this head on right now. Wow, man, it's an impressive piece. Just looking at the motion. So let's get some of these other switch outs out of here. He's got a hand with a long staff. This other head sculpt with this big beak thing, which I like. I really like this hand, how he's got these like moon moonarangs in his knuckles. That's pretty cool. Then he's just got a regular open hand, which I don't really think was necessary. I think, why not just have the moonarangs in there, you know? And then you got to switch out right hand with the big moonerang. Cool. All right, let's clear this off and make some space. All right, so we cleared off the table, made some space for this bad boy to breathe. My first initial thoughts is that it looks very dynamic, man. Like the cape, Caleb did a great job of sculpting this thing to make it look like it's moving, like the cape is flowing in the wind. He does seem to move a little bit on the base. There's only one peg in his left foot. So when I turn him, everything's moving. He's sliding, the chain's moving. And the other thing that I couldn't tell in pictures is that it looks like he has a good amount of silver paint, like on top of his hood and on his costume. It kind of looks like it's all white in pictures. I think the cape has a lot of good paint jobs, a lot of good paint apps on the cape, man. I like how it's kind of like dirty at the end of the cape. Even though he's all white, his costume looks very weathered. Let's take a look at some of the switch outs. So this switch out always reminded me of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Kind of like that doctor from like that time period. So he has 3 different hand switch out options, right? So this is option 1, where you got the chain and this grappling hook thing. Then option 2 would be to have this this spear, and I guess this open hand. Which is cool. And then the third option, which I was thinking is what I'll use. He's got this fist with these moon batarangs gripped in his knuckles. And then he's got the right hand with a bigger one with some kind of like brass knuckle type rings on. But I don't know. I think you got to go the grappling hook. Cool. So, before we just get into the review, let's do a couple of things. First, let's talk about Moon Knight. Moon Knight first appeared in Werewolf by Night 32 in 1975. He was a villain, kind of antagonist to the werewolf, and he ended up getting his own series. It is kind of like Marvel's version of Batman in the sense that he's this billionaire vigilante who wears all one color, operates at night, has moon planes and moon batarangs and all these type of gadgets. So he's similar to Batman in that sense, but you know Marvel had to kind of one-up it a little bit, right? So Mark Spector was a mercenary, and that's how he built his fortune. Not some mama's boy, daddy's boy like Bruce Wayne. He was a mercenary, and in on one of his missions, he gets killed. The locals bring him to a statue of their god, and their god agrees to restore his life if he becomes his avatar, which I mentioned before. And basically, you know, becomes a vigilante who fights for truth and justice and all that good stuff. So when he comes back to operate, he creates other personas so that he can infiltrate different aspects of crime. So he creates a wealthy persona so he can infiltrate, like, you know, those in high society. And then he develops this street persona, which lets him, you know, infiltrate that aspect of the world. And what's cool is eventually they write him into, like, having, like, nervous breakdowns or, like, schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder. And they start playing with his mind later on with having these different personas. So that was a pretty cool touch. Werewolf by Night 32 is one of the hottest Bronze Age keys. It's highly sought after. Many feel like he deserves his own Netflix series or his own movie or his own show on Disney's new streaming service. And it's kind of like one of the most speculated books for comics. In my opinion, speculated so much that it might have already peaked. It was doing ASM 129 numbers. let's talk about the piece itself. So XM Studios used to always have an edition size of 999. But starting, I don't know if this is the first piece, this or Scorpion or one of those pieces, they decided to only do a made-to-order edition size. Meaning when the pre-order opens, whoever orders a piece, that's how many they make, and that's it. So with this being one of the first pieces to adopt that new program, this only has 270 pieces in the world. This is number 57, and that's it. Already, people are trying to scramble to secure one of these. You can't get it through XM anymore, so you can only get it through the aftermarket. So that's pretty interesting because it's kind of a game changer in the term of edition size. You can't just wait. It's not going to show up cheaper on eBay later. There's a very limited amount, and that's all there's ever going to be. Like I mentioned before, this was sculpted by Caleb Nesfit, who also did the XM Studios Scorpion, who you'll see I'll do an unboxing for in a couple of days. He also did the XM Studios Carnage, along with a lot of other things, but super talented guy. Maybe we'll get him on the channel one day to chat. I want to give a shout out to my man Benjamin Toe, who I pre-order all my XM pieces from. This one I actually got from somebody else, but I was like, yo, when they start shipping, hand it off to my man Ben, because I know he'll take care of me, and he sure enough did. So shout out to Ben. If you guys want to pre-order any XM Studios pieces, definitely holler at me. I'll get you in contact with Ben. And like I said, made to order. The pre-order window is open. For example, right now, Groot. If you don't pre-order it and that closes, it's going to cost you later when you try to get it on the aftermarket. Alright, but that's enough about the character and about the piece. Let's do a little review on it. I'm looking at the base. The base is a very flat color brown. It's got hieroglyphics around. Looks like it must be from Egypt. Got a lot of weight to it, like I mentioned. And even though the paint is kind of just one solid brown, it has sculpted in some weathering and cracking. And when you get up into the, I don't know if you would call this the moon god or the sphinx or what have you, you start getting into like a gold type of color. And yeah, gold, bronze, a lot of weathering sculpted in. And it looks good. I don't know why they didn't do the whole base like that. Maybe to give it a little bit of contrast. But I'm cool with it either way. The wings look good. I do have pretty pronounced seams on them. But what are you going to do? I guess, you couldn't ship it like that. Otherwise, something would have snapped. Looking at Moon Knight himself, like I said, the sculpt, I really love it. He looks really dynamic. He's about to jump right off of this Sphinx here. The cape looks crazy good, flowing in the wind. There are some seams that I kind of am noticing here by the neck. And I don't know if I'm maybe not putting the cape on right. But it seems to have a pretty nasty seam by the neck there and by the shoulder. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can really get that neck seam better than how I got it. But like I mentioned a little bit before, like I love the dirt look on him. He's got an all-white costume, right? So you got to do something. And the boots look dirty. The back of the cape looks dirty. I like the detail in the boots. He reminds me a lot of the Assassin's Creed character, man. If you think about the all-white costume, and he's kind of like buckles on the back of his boot. You got the bottom of the boot looks very realistic. He's got a lot of fine, cool like details. Like you can see his little batarangs on his belt and the logo on his belt buckle and on his chest. The hood is a lot more silver than I thought it was, man. The sculpt on the mask looks really cool too, man. You can like see his nose through it, and you can see his chin and everything. It looks really realistic. The gauntlets look cool too. The cape is really impressive. It really makes me think that you can get away with a Spawn statue if you make the cape out of that material, because Spawn's cape's got to be huge, right? So yeah, The seam is the only issue that I really have with it. I don't really like how that seam looks. Although I think where I'm going to be putting this, you're not really going to ever see it, but it's still going to be there. I plan to get this to pair up with the Iron Studios Punisher and the Sideshow Daredevil and Elektra. I'm going to put them all in the packs together. I think they're going to look really good like that. That's going to be the review. Let me know what you guys think of Moon Knight. What do you think about the XM Studios made-to-order policy? I personally think it's a good thing because one of the problems with statues is that we're in an oversaturated market right now and stuff does not sell well on the aftermarket. The main reason for that is because there's so many statues being produced. If you have a statue at a 5,000 edition size, more than likely you're going to be able to buy it new from the company, and you're not going to have to go on eBay or whatever. So this brings it back to being a high-end collectible. There's only 270 pieces. And you got to think, how many of those pieces even made it to the States? Probably just a handful. Make sure that you guys hit the like on the way out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more statue unboxing and reviews. I do have the XM Studio Scorpion coming in on Monday. Today's Friday the 16th. So in a couple of days, we'll be doing another Caleb XM Studio sculpt. And I'm super excited because we get to add that to the Spider-Man Villains wall. I hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing and the review, the close-up pics, and all the little angles. You guys stay minty fresh. Peace.